Hello, I'm Jonasz Rewiński, and this is Military Mind. Armed conflicts, defense and security, land, sea and air. We've got you covered. Overnight, Ukrainian air defense forces destroyed 22 out of 56 Russian drones targeting Kiev, with reports saying that a residential building and civil infrastructure were damaged in the Ukrainian capital. No casualties have been reported so far. In the Kursk region, Russian aircraft carried out several attacks on Kiev's forces, but the Ukrainians were not dislodged from their positions. On the front lines, Ukrainian forces made advances in the Kharkiv region. In Vovchansk, Russian troops withdrew from positions closer to the border, and reportedly, Ukrainian forces made significant advances towards Hleboke, north of Kharkiv. Further east, Russian troops ramped up their movements west of Selidove, concentrating their forces along the railroad running through Tsukuryne to the north. Efforts to concentrate equipment and personnel in the Ukrainsk area had been observed, with the likely objective being to reach the key crossroads on the Selidove-Pokrovsk road and cut off important logistical routes. The sector remains one of the most challenging at this stage of the fighting, as control over transportation routes could have a significant impact on the situation on the front line. In the Volodar sector, Russian forces have pushed on with their offensive north of the city to bring their forces closer to Kurachovo. Now, we opened this episode with footage of recon soldiers from the Russian volunteer Corp volunteering for Ukraine and fighting for Ukraine against Putin's army. We need to emphasize this. And these soldiers are providing fire support using an RPG-7 as assault groups from its unit advance through the aggregate plan in Vovchansk back in September of 2024. This is where this footage is actually from. Now, the precise use of the rocket launcher by the soldier in question helped the assault teams push forward, effectively aiding in the operation against Russian forces entrenched in the area.
Работай, блядь! Жди, блядь! Третье! Осторожно. Готово. Уёбывай!
And just a small observation here. Many people are waxing lyrical about the Navalnyists. They are speaking a lot about the Russian opposition. But here we actually have a couple of guys who are as opposed to Putin as it gets. I mean, the Russian Volunteer Corps is literally fighting against Putin. Literally fighting on the front lines. So, I mean, there you have it. You know, the determination is still there. It is just a shame that so few Russians are actually joining in. Perhaps this might change. Now, in the clip coming up, you'll be able to see troops from the Solovey unit of the 144th Territorial Defense Brigade successfully avoid a direct hit from an enemy FPV drone. Their swift actions prevented potential casualties, demonstrating their readiness and agility under fire.
Нам дальше.
Пацаны, здоровые новости!
Тормозить, вылетаем?
Да! Давай!
Сели! Сука! Ёбана в рот! Держи, цукуни! Сука, оглушила, блядь!
Да-да!
Ебать, красава!
жизнь не жизнь, ну жопу точно.
А?
Жизнь не жизнь, ну жопу точно, а? Бачиш? Ні, я цілий. Цілий.
Я наче да. Потім розберемося.
So that was a quick reaction. Also, you might remember yesterday's clip involving a Ukrainian IFV avoiding enemy fire. And that one actually had rocket-propelled grenades flying right above, proving that some of the Russians really do have the aim of Star Wars stormtroopers. Now, moving on. Cluster GMLRS rounds were recently fired at a group of Russian infantry at another training ground in the south. The strike was precisely adjusted by operators from the 128th Mountain Assault Brigade and the Chornyi Lis brigade using the Shark reconnaissance UAV. This coordinated effort between artillery and UAV operators ensured a devastating blow to Russian forces, further weakening their presence in the region. Operators from the main intelligence directorate successfully liberated a 4 square kilometers worth of woodland north of Liptsi in the Kharkiv region. During the operation, they captured an enemy battalion defense area and destroyed 3 motorized rifle units, a penal detachment, and the reconnaissance company of the 7th Regiment from the 11th Army Corps of the Russian Federation. This significant victory dealt a heavy blow to the enemy's defensive capabilities in the region.
Что, десант? Гранат дайте.
Ух ти ж моя бусинка.
По готовності один вогонь.
Лидер в ствол. Лидером захвата.
Зайняли. Задача, нарізайте дерево, блядь, отаке з листями, сука. І це швидше треба все робити. Так. І труби підготувати до роботи, якщо що.
And meanwhile, President Zelensky's victory plan is being discussed in Brussels at a NATO meeting. And one of the points of that plan is actually for Ukraine, in the future when the war is over, to take over some of the responsibilities from American forces to defend Europe. And actually, looking at this, looking at the heroic sacrifice and the expertise in the field of the Ukrainians, that would actually be an excellent investment, because they surely know how to fight. So when thinking about the victory plan, it's not just about what Ukraine is going to receive today, but also what Ukraine can contribute to Europe's future. And it is actually worth thinking about it before saying that the plan cannot be implemented because Russian red lines or something. Just a thought. And with this, we conclude this episode of Military Mind. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.